Florida's Republican governor takes aim at Joe Biden's disastrous leadership when it comes to reopening schools as part of his 100-day plan. This, as 50% of schools across the country are already open without a single story of a teacher dying from COVID after being around all those infected students. Weird. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the one, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Before we start, I want to ask everyone to please download our new FreedomProject Media app. What a way to stick it to the big tech companies. We create an app, you download app, we send you 17 new shows a week. All you got to do is hit notifications, let yourself be notified, and you'll get all of that free of charge. And Mark Zuckerberg can sit in his house playing with his toys, sobbing like a child. All right, Katie now joins us with a look at the questionable health of our republic.
Who is the worst governor in the union? I mean, is that even a legit question? You know who it is. Let me explain. How very bad is New York Governor Andrew Cuomo?
I've dealt with a number of these cases, and let me tell you, you are probably the very, very worst.
You tell me in the comments, on a scale of he's just being a New York mobster monster to scum of the earth, where is that line? Also, share this video since, of course, we are demonetized, I guess forever and for always. At least people will see it if you share the video. But alas, if you haven't heard about Andrew Cuomo, you haven't been watching CNN, with his brother having a borderline incestuous relationship on the television for about 20 people in an airport to see.
Is it true that this was the swab that the nurse was actually using on you, and that at first it went into your nose and disappeared, so that in scale, this was the actual swab that was being used to fit up that double-barrel shotgun that you have mounted on the front of your pretty face?
He can shove that Q-tip up a different orifice and call it a day. And this one didn't age well at all.
False. Do you think that you are an attractive person now because you're single and ready to mingle? Do you really think you are some desirable single person and that this is not just people's pain coming out of them?
I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
These interviews have a whole new perspective on them in light of recent accusations. We'll get to that in a moment. But we must first set the mood, if you will. For the past year, the world has been told to bow down to the mighty Cuomo, the one governor who has done everything right in response to the coronavirus. Except if you were actually following science and had a morsel of humanity and wanting to keep grandma and grandpa alive, you'd see right through that thick New York accent of lies. Cuomo was all about saying how New York did everything right and he should be hailed as a hero. Yet we've known all along that he underreported how many deaths he caused by shoving the elderly back into the nursing homes when they had COVID. It only took an entire year before the truth came out that the number of deaths should have been double what was actually reported. So of the 500,000 deaths from the United States, New York had just about 10%, with California having another 10%. Think about that for a moment. New York and California, those two states alone, make up 20% of the deaths across the country. But listen to the almighty leaders like Andrew Cuomo. He made a poster for himself showing just how brave he is and how much of a leader he has been during this pandemic. See, it's a mountain. And as Cuomo wrote on his official governor website, we went up the mountain. We curved the mountain. We came down the other side. And these are little telltale signs that, to me, represent what was going on. And then, for how he did so well with his daily briefings about COVID, he earned himself an Emmy Award. Let's show the montage, once again, of all of Hollywood praising Cuomo as being their hero, just to remind us all how much the media and Hollywood are in the pants of the elite politicians, and more importantly, so we can watch them choke on their own hypocrisy.
Congratulations, Andrew, on your much-deserved Founders Award.
Governor Andrew Cuomo, you are the man. What?
On behalf of just me, but my family, but New Yorkers, bigger than that, the world, thank you for your leadership. Because, man, right out of the gate, you were there for us. And I go, oh, you smart and you were honest.
In the darkest stage of the pandemic, your daily briefings live from New York gave us hope, gave us clarity, gave us the truth, gave us something that we were not getting from Washington, leadership.
In the midst of this storm, Andrew Cuomo became the nation's governor. People across the country tuned into his press conferences every day.
Was Billy Joel actually being held hostage and forced to do that? Blink twice if you need help, Billy. But oh, now how the mighty are falling. I'm guessing Don Henley is saying to himself, damn, my song has a whole new meaning. Somebody's going to emergency. Somebody's going to jail. Everything can change in a New York minute. We're finally at the crux of this entire video. Accusations start coming out against the hailed, now shamed governor, as 3 women have claimed unwanted comments and advances from the governor. I think Alanis would agree. It was ironic that exactly 1 year ago was the first confirmed case of coronavirus within New York. And now his entire career is crashing down around him over his lies about the number of COVID deaths and now the sexual harassment allegations. And I know I said 3 women have accused Cuomo so far. It is quite possible that I'm already wrong. I mean, maybe I shouldn't even be taping right now. Did he get another accusation since I started rolling tape? It's a fast fall from the mighty perch he set himself on. Even little brother had used that giant Q-tip to put some distance between himself and his older brother. Although he's doing it in the name of journalisming, which he has not done up until the point where he would have to actually critique his brother. Now it's all a conflict of interest, he says. But just right now, this moment, it wasn't before, when it was all the incestuous COVID praise, which, by the way, is the real scandal that should be covered in all of this.
You're straight with me, I'll be straight with you. Obviously, I'm aware of what's going on with my brother. And obviously, I cannot cover it because he is my brother. Now, of course, CNN has to cover it. They have covered it extensively, and they will continue to do so. I have always cared very deeply about these issues, and profoundly so. I just wanted to tell you that.
Right. Unlike CNN, we will do a fact check on that statement. CNN has to cover it. They have covered it extensively. Yep, fact check. False. In true Cuomo family fashion, it's a non-apology, non-answer, wishy-washy, New Yorker kind of response. Lindsey Boylan was the first accuser against Andrew, providing details of a Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky sort of vibe. Andrew's own defense came after Charlotte Bennett, the second accuser, alleged that Cuomo asked her about being intimate with older men. But he said that she was a hardworking and valued member of his staff with every right to speak out. He said he would not provide further comment until a review was concluded. And then he promptly released another statement. Here's the BS in full light. He starts by saying he never intended to offend anyone and that he thinks he's being playful and makes jokes at work, blah, 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 blah. To be clear, I never inappropriately touched anybody, and I never intended to make anyone feel uncomfortable, but these are allegations that New Yorkers deserve answers to. And this was followed by an accusation from Anna Ruch of that inappropriate touching that Cuomo says he never did. Ruch said that Cuomo approached her at a wedding and asked to kiss her while also putting his hands on her face after already having put his hand on her bare lower back. So do we have any evidence of any of this? Why, yes, we do. Oh my goodness. Guys, who did this? I mean, it's not all that inaccurate, but you guys... Okay, here's the actual photo that was taken at just the right moment. Her face says it all, and Cuomo's face shows that, in fact, he is a demon of Satan. In the era of #MeToo, this is evidence to have the creep burn in hell, but since he's a member of the Democratic Party, we'll have to see. They are known to hold themselves to no standards in these instances. But New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has jumped on the Investigate Cuomo bandwagon, along with a few other female state lawmakers and even a few White House officials and members of Congress.
I am shooketh.
I love her. Let's be honest here. The Democrats don't need Cuomo anymore after he fell off the COVID pedestal. They used and abused him like he seemingly did to these women and your grandparents. And when you are no longer useful, you get rolled over, and then they hit reverse for good measure. It's a Democrat eat Democrat world, and we're all just living in it. Pay attention, because it's about to get real for all of them. Oh, and again, if you could, please share this video. Until next time, stay healthy, America.
Joined now by Alex Newman, our international correspondent. Alex, thanks for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Duke. Great to be with you.
Well, good. This is kind of a break from all the horrific educational news across the country that you're so good at bringing to our attention. We've got relative good news. We've got Governor DeSantis of Florida, who seems to be pushing all the right buttons when it comes to freedom and liberty, and especially the opening of the schools. And so he is the first major governor who said enough is enough. He slammed Biden on his pathetic failure in terms of leadership on the schools. One of the reasons, I think the reason Joe Biden is president, beyond voter fraud, is because of COVID. And all those promises Biden made, he's clearly incapable of doing anything. He's paralyzed by the teachers' unions. Tell us what Governor DeSantis, he's your governor, tell us what he had to say about this.
Yeah, he basically mopped the floor with Joe Biden. Joe Biden was running around promising that within the first 100 days of my administration, all the schools will be open. And then he walked that back and he said, well, within the first 100 days, we'll have at least one day a week of live teaching in an actual classroom. And so Governor DeSantis has stepped in and said, look, this is a pathetic failure of leadership. This is a joke. This is basically betraying the people who voted for you. And more importantly, I think the key point that DeSantis made, and he's right on the money, is that Biden is a slave to the big teachers unions that don't have the best interests of children at heart, that are absolutely radical beyond anything a normal American could imagine, and that unfortunately are pulling this administration around like a dog on a leash. It's really quite pathetic, and Governor DeSantis was right to call it out.
Well, the one thing I wish he would have gone one step further, and I know he couldn't do it, we're not really dealing with Biden here. We've got zombie Biden. As a matter of fact, to give an example, right. This is zombie Biden, right? Only the first time he ate a brain would be the first time he'd have one inside of him. We know that Biden is kind of a placeholder right now. Give you an example. You know the attack on Dr. Seuss that we're covering all week on the Dr. Duke Show. It turns out now that National Reading Day, Biden refused to talk about Dr. Seuss. It was his birthday when they put that day together, the National Reading Holiday, and Obama himself praised Seuss, and every other American president who read books to kids mentioned the positive impact of Dr. Seuss. We find out now that in his speech, Biden says nothing. And when he was asked about it, it came out from his press release, his press correspondent, Circle Around Psaki, right? She said that actually the statement condemning Dr. Seuss came from the Department of Education, not from Joe Biden. So the Department of Education actually wrote a speech that Joe Biden gave in the first person and signed as his own, condemning Dr. Seuss. This is where we are now. And so DeSantis' criticism is right on.
Yeah, it really is pathetic. And DeSantis said another thing that I think really hits at the heart of this issue, too. And he pointed out that the elites all have their children in these ritzy private schools, and they're all open. So the elites can do whatever they want all day. They've got somebody to watch their children, whereas the poor and the middle class and the blue-collar workers who don't have, $50,000 a year to send their kids to a fancy-pantsy private school, they're the ones who are suffering. And so DeSantis hit several home runs here against Joe Biden. Joe Biden, as you mentioned, is kind of sleeping. I'm not sure he's even aware that he's being strongly criticized. But it is interesting that more and more governors are now following DeSantis's lead. You've got Texas, you've got Mississippi just followed suit, and they're saying enough. We're going to open again. We're going to take off the face diapers. We're going to stop the social distancing. Kids are going to go back to school. And as far as I'm concerned, shut the schools down forever. But as long as we're going to have them, let's stop pretending like everybody's at risk because children are going to school. The data is clear. Children are not getting COVID. They're not showing symptoms. They're not spreading it. It's a political thing, and it has to do with the teachers' unions, not with the well-being of children or even teachers, for that matter.
What is the state of Florida public schools? Are they open? Are kids back? So they are. They've been back for a while now.
Yeah, they shut down only for a brief moment, and mostly over the summer, and then DeSantis had them opened all again by August. So they've been open as normal. We haven't had any of the crazy predictions come true that we're all going to die. Right. They call them Death Santis, but of course we're all still here, and life goes on. And I feel very blessed to live in the great state of Florida.
Yeah, and of course Andrew Cuomo was a huge bully when this came up with DeSantis, blaming DeSantis, mocking DeSantis. I guess the Manola Blanca pump is on the other shoe now with Governor Cuomo, it seems to me. After the break, I'd like to talk to you more about DeSantis broadly. I mean, he finished second only to Donald Trump in the CPAC poll. So let's talk a little bit about, as a Floridian, what do you think his chances of becoming president are? And can we hope that he'll be a different kind of Republican than we've seen over the last 20 years? Back now with our international correspondent, Alex Newman. Great talk, I think, we had about Governor DeSantis of Florida and how he's handled the pandemic. He's done a great job keeping the schools open. He has mocked Biden for all of his grandiose promises that in part got him elected. He's going to get the schools open. He's going to do this and that. He did none of it. He's incapable of doing any of it. But let's talk a little bit more broadly about DeSantis. You live in Florida. What kind of Republican? I'm leery, right? I was beginning to get on the board the Nikki Haley train, and then she, of course, kneecapped Donald Trump, and then crawled back to him the following week to apologize. Can you trust any of these guys? Tell me why DeSantis might be different.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I'll tell you, we knew DeSantis before he was governor. He was actually a congressman. And so we spent a fair amount of time in his office harassing him in a nice way, a friendly way, about some of his unconstitutional votes. But if you look at his voting record objectively, if you use the Freedom Index, for example, he did relatively well. As far as Republicans go, he was certainly in the top tier. Not perfect. I mean, he wasn't a 100% all the time Constitution, but compared to some of these other weak-kneed Republicans, he was certainly much better. Now, a lot of the local political operatives around here thought, even back then, long before he was even announcing that he was running for governor, that he was being groomed by certain powerful forces and individuals. Club of Growth comes to mind, for future higher office. And now that has all come out of the closet. There's real talk about him potentially serving as Trump's VP if Trump decides to run again in 2024. So there's a real sense that he probably has a bright political future. He's almost considered like the heir to the Trump movement, which at this point is basically the entirety of the Republican Party, with the exception of some fringe characters like Senator Romney and Liz Cheney, who are probably going to be primaried out of existence very soon. So DeSantis has a bright political future ahead of him. I don't know that he's as principled as maybe you and I would love to see, but he's certainly doing a lot better than almost anybody on the national scene right now in Republican politics.
Well, after this last election fiasco, I don't blame the Republicans for losing. I don't really blame the Republicans for not standing by Trump, each to their own. But what I cannot forgive them for and will not forgive them for, Republicans at the state level, at the local level, and at the federal level are not the least little bit interested in investigating what happened. I mean, all right, fine. They stole an election. That they got away with it. You didn't like Trump anyway, you Rhino Republicans. I suppose we can live with that. But because no one's investigating anything, really, because no one's taking a look at this. I mean, he busted his butt, Trump, to get Amy Barrett on the Supreme Court. What he went through to get Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court was outrageous. And both Comey and Kavanaugh voted, we're not going to look at any of this stuff, right? So we talk about we need Republican presidents because we need the Supreme Court. Look at what our track record is. You got John Roberts, who clearly must have did something on Epstein Island that the press, the Washington press has on him. And now you got Comey Barrett, and you got Kavanaugh, who are almost lockstep with the Democrats. So what's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of putting your faith in the Supreme Court? Why, in your mind, might DeSantis be somebody who would make people like me consider voting Republican?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about the Supreme Court. In fact, I think the dissent by Justice Thomas was brilliant. It is inexplicable that the Supreme Court would decline to look at these cases and at least try to restore some confidence of Americans in the electoral system. Look, even the fake media's polls show that almost all Republicans think the election was rigged. It's only like a third of Democrats admit that they think it was rigged. It's probably much higher than that. And yet the Supreme Court just wants to not touch it, including the people that Trump put on there. It really is bizarre. Now, as far as DeSantis goes, I can't speak with certainty to say that he would be better, but he does have a decent track record. That's one of the things that a lot of these politicians are missing. They talk really conservative on the campaign trail. They say they're going to cut your taxes. They say that they're going to stand up to the bullies and the radical left. DeSantis actually has a track record of doing that, and I think he's done a pretty decent job. If you saw the abuse that the media heaped on him for months and months during this coronavirus idiocy. And you saw how DeSantis responded. He said, you're fake news. That's enough. You're fake news. He did brilliantly with that. And so that gives me confidence that he's one of the better guys in the Republican Party.
Yeah, and to be fair, give him credit. I won't go so far as to say he eradicated the stench of Common Core from Florida public schools, but he certainly went farther and more aggressive and more sincere about it than any other Republican governor in the country. He came closest, and he had the most open mind when it came to educational issues like getting rid of Common Core. Alex Newman, thank you for your great report today.
It's time for some real education, which our kids aren't going to get because they can't read Dr. Seuss. But here, we read Dr. Seuss.
For our final day of Seuss Fest, it is staggering what has happened. In the space of, a week? We went from Dr. Seuss is a great thing. National Reading Day was on his birthday. Barack Obama sang his praises when he read to kids, to being, boom, canceled. So I decided for the last day of Dr. Seuss Fest, I was going to rewrite the words to You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. And instead of going after the Grinch, I'm going after these woke douches who have nothing better to do than to destroy all of our fun. Are you ready? Here's the song. You're a mean one, you woke douche. You're thicker than a brick. You're dimmer than a dodo, you're a parasitic tick, you woke douche. You're a race-hustling pustule that needs lancing with a stick. You're a vile one, you woke douche. You're a bigot in disguise. You've got Sharpton for a barber and Obama for a guide, you woke douche. Given a choice between the two of you, I'd take Oprah in a thong. You're a snowflake, you woke douche. You're a eunuch pajama boy. You're a prissy little whiner and you pee on all our joy, you woke douche. You're a biology-denying quisling and a man-bun-wearing fraud. You nauseate me, you woke douche. You're a commie in Nike shoes. You love to hate on whitey and you're racist against the Jews, you woke douche. The three words that best describe you are as follow, and I quote, broke, woke, joke. I hope you enjoyed that, and keep your Seuss on, America.
All right, just a quick reminder to please download our brand new Freedom Project Media app. Again, 17 new shows every single week. Plus, we have an entire library of content. Simply search for Freedom Project in your app store. And again, once you download, make sure you allow for those notifications. And if you're a fan of the show, please consider a one-time tax-deductible donation to support our Patriot Club. And we're going to send you the beautiful red signature tumbler as just our little thank you to you. All you have to do to sign up is visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us. Now, as we do, we want to take some time here to show a little love to our Patriot Club members. And today, we'd like to give a shout out to Rick from Roanoke, Virginia. Rick, thank you for supporting us.
Hey, thanks very much, Rick, for doing that. We appreciate that. And that's going to do it for this show. Now make sure you download the app. We've only told you 8,000 times. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.